Do you want pizza? A nice, easy question. But what about the questions we don't want to ask ourselves? G'day, and welcome to Small Steps Through Life. Today, we're at Battle Hill. It's overcast, lightly drizzling. And today I'm looking at the idea of questions that we have for ourselves. In life, we have lots of questions. We have them all the time. What would you like for supper? What would you like for lunch? Nice and easy. But what about some of the more difficult questions? Should we keep working where we're working? Should we continue with a relationship? Should we end a relationship? Should we start a new relationship? Those are bigger questions, and we tend to be very cautious at asking the question because sometimes the answer requires an action. If we ask ourselves, should I work at this job? If the answer is no, then why are we still there? There's a call to action. So what do we do instead? If we don't want to change our life, we don't ask the question. Deliberate. We are making our lives easier by turning a blind eye to an idea. But is it the right answer? It's an answer. An alternative would be to say, should I stay at this job? Is it good for me? And if you start looking at the idea of, is it good for me? Then maybe we're going to start taking penalty points for staying at a job. And it won't matter how much we ignore the question, those penalties are going to clock up. If, for example, the place we're working at has a toxic work environment, we are going to likely be either damaged by it or take on some of those toxic traits. So, whether we ask the question or not, we are still impacted. So what do we do about it? Ask the question. If the answer is we shouldn't stay there, but we choose to stay there, we'll have at least made the decision, knowing all the elements. Or we might say, I shouldn't stay here, but for the moment I need to. We can choose our own timetable. Think about it. The more information you have, the better decisions you can make. And you don't have to make them straight away. You can start preparing the ground. Like if you think, I need to change my job, you might think, but I need a few more skills. So you can defer it while you gain those skills. A relationship. Should you start a relationship? Should you stop the relationship? You get to make all these decisions. Sometimes it is a good idea to ask the difficult question so that you can choose your course of action. It doesn't force you to, but it does mean you'll be making a decision from the position of a bit more understanding of the implications, of the long-term effects. So, what questions do you put off? And after this podcast, what questions are you going to ask yourself? If you do ask yourself a hard question, be a bit gentle with yourself. Sometimes it takes a bit of getting used to the idea of taking on some of those harder questions. But once you ask them and you look at the answer, you get to choose your next step in life, in your own journey. And on that note, I'm going to say, see you later.